Who's ready to start the best hour of their week? And it's Shrimp Fest week. Who's ready for Shrimp Fest? Robert Carter's going to do an invocation.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this day. We do thank you for the rain. We're more thankful for the fact that we're getting some sunshine now, and we give you the praise. We're also thankful for the opportunity we have as a club to serve this community. We pray for our event this Friday. We pray that all things will go well. Pray for good weather. And most importantly, we pray that we'll raise the funds that we need to be able to do the things you would have us do in this community. But in all things, we give you praise for your son, Jesus. And it's in his name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Robert. Salute. Pledge. Let's have a quick Rotary minute.
I'm glad you're standing.
Oh, I'm on the I go. Tom, good, are you? Correct. How are you? Good. You're at my Rotary. Hi, Nick. Well, no, if he wasn't here. Okay.
How's that?
Fair enough.
All right, if you want to make your way back to your seats. Seats. Russell Mossberg, seats. There you go. Our Sergeant at Arms today is Tom Riggs and special guest, Jack Weinberg.
Thank you. Well, the purpose of the Sergeant of Arms is to maintain a sense of order and decorum in this motley group, including you. Now, by the same token, we'd like to quit this namby-pamby of asking questions of the audience, but let's get down to brass tacks. Okay, we're going to go retro. 20 years ago, as Dr. Miller here will verify. First of all, how many of you have had your name in the paper this past week? Okay, there we go. We have at least one person admitting. Two, three. Okay, well, one of the things about Rotary, service above self, with humility. So all of you publicity seekers have to get out $1. Okay. Second, how many missed the meeting last week? Okay, get out your $1. Thirdly, look around your table. How many of you are sitting with at least 3 people you sat with last week? Oh, come on. I think all these men are lying over here. Get out your $1. Okay? And so that's where we did 20 years ago. But there were also many more embarrassing things, and that's why I'm going to pass the microphone to Jack here.
That's right. One of us is the biggest embarrassment of the club, and I don't think it's, well, maybe it's him. Okay. It's probably me. So anyway, I was trying to predict, knowing that Tom was going to be the Sergeant at Arms, I was trying to predict what will he say, okay? Because there are certain things that Tom usually talks about, and the past, I'm surprised he talked about the past. But anyway, I'm going to ask a couple of those namby-pamby questions. What famous athlete was born on this day in history, May 28th? Anybody know?
Rick Miller.
Rick Miller is not the answer, so you can pay $1. And Jim Thorpe is the answer. Thank you very much, Joe Van Auken. Jim Thorpe was born today. Surely I thought Tom would bring that up, being that he's such an expert on the Native American thing. Also, there was a famous, shall we say, what do we call those, executive orders signed by Andrew Jackson on this day, Tom, in 1830. The Indian Removal Act is correct. Who said that? That's right. You must have something to do with the schools or something. Anyway, it's also the birthday of Gladys Knight. Okay? No word on her pips and how old they were, but Gladys Knight was born on this day. Finally, if you own a Volkswagen, which I believe Tom still does, anybody else own a Volkswagen? Volkswagen was founded on this day a long, long time ago. So you don't have to pay the fine, Tom. So there you go. There's the namby-pamby questions. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you both very much. Let's give our caterer, the Regatta, a big round of applause. Austin and his team do a great job. Thank you. What? Drift. Sorry, we're going to call it the Drift now. I just have Regatta on here, so we'll blame Autumn. Our Rotarian of the day is Larry Harrelson, and Pete tried to get him here, but he's got some medical procedures coming up, so let's think about him. We have one guest with us today. One guest, that's all? That's surprising. With Britt Malone, we have his lovely wife, Susie. And there's no question that it is the better half. It's the best half. Right, Brent? Agreed. So, anybody have any announcements today? Dun, dun, dun. Just one?
I am looking for 2 men in a pickup truck for 8:30 on Friday morning to come by my house and pick up one of the auction items that weighs 100 pounds. And I am not picking it up. So, if you do have that, I would really appreciate it. We just need a pickup with some tie downs. It's our e-bike that we have for the auction. We need to have it transported from my house over to Shangri-La. So if somebody could help, I'd really appreciate it. See me after the meeting. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Judy. Anybody else? Nothing? All right. Well, Mr. Miller, are you ready? Let's get Rick Miller, our very own Rick Miller, up here to talk about some boat racing.
All right. It's always a challenge to make sure that the AV is working. And I have a couple of videos that I wanted to show. And so I was trying to figure out how we, can do it. I'm a Mac person, and I knew this was a PC, so I'm trying to get it, but we got it, I think. So hopefully it's all going to work here. But it's a privilege to be here, and I've been a terrible Rotarian. I've been terrible about being here, been paying my dues, but I got to get better about getting here. But sometimes you let work get in the way, and you just need to focus and get here. But thank you for letting me to come share with you about Thunder on Wolf Creek and Toes in the Grand. So we'll kind of get rolling here and make sure my clicker works, which it does. So we had hydroplane racing from 1970 to 1983 here on the lake. Now, I'm going to be up here making it look like I do all the work and I've organized it and all that. But the truth of the matter, my dad right here is the guy that does all the work. I just get the publicity up here. So he's the one that really does all the work. So it's pretty crazy. I had to do the math. 55 years ago was the first time we had a race here in Grove, out at Palmer and Pryor Resort, which was about halfway between town and Sailboat Bridge. So we raced for 13 years, and actually 4 different venues, I believe, that we raced. But as the lake became more popular, it became difficult for us to race. We really cannot have a pleasure boat nearby because they'll crash us. So as the lake got more popular, we couldn't then we just took a hiatus. So it's crazy to think that for 30 years we didn't race. And then they built Wolf Creek Park. And my dad was like, hey, I think we could race here. I think we can get GRDA to hold the boats back and get them back far enough. And of course, the other end, there's no boats going to be there, and we could race. So in 2013, we raced and had a phenomenal event. Everybody loved it, so we've been rolling since then. But anyway, it's pretty crazy. 55 years ago, first time we raced here. Now, we are part of Toes in the Grand. So Toes in the Grand has got all kinds of stuff going on. It's going to start Thursday night with the carnival. And if I mess up, Brent or Amanda, keep me in line on what goes on for Toes in the Grand. But we've got the carnival starting Thursday night, and I'll get to it in just a second. And then we have 4 bands Friday night and 4 bands Saturday night. And one kind of cool thing, right here, this Brad Absher and the Superiors. Brad is a fellow 1981 Grove Ridge runner like myself. And I don't think I see Kaylin out here, but Kaylin's another one that's a 1981 graduate. I have not heard him in probably 30 or 40 years. So I'm excited to go see him. But a lot of good bands that are going to be here Friday night and Saturday evening there. And just to show you, this is a couple pictures of the last few years. We've had a lot of people come out. We've had bands, they bring their lawn chair, coolers, whatever. There's food trucks and beverage trucks and everything going. And then I thought this was a great picture right here one year. You can see the sun setting in the background, and really neat event, so come out and support that. So we also have a triathlon Saturday morning. So the Y puts that on. Anybody want to just last minute go do a triathlon, they'll take your money, I think. And I think they have plenty of support crew if you drown or anything. So, but anyway, last year I think it was the first year they did the triathlon. And then, like I said, plenty of food trucks and vendor trucks and people selling arts and crafts and stuff that they do. So anyway, lots of stuff going on for Toes of the Grand. Plus, on Saturday, car, truck, and bike show. So, you know, lots to do for everyone. And then finally, the carnival's back. Last year we didn't have it, but the year before we did. And I believe, Brent, you had maybe told me that there was like 15,000 people. They thought that 16,000 people that came through when they had the carnival. So lots of activity. So I'm going to rip my phone out because I didn't get it on the slide here, but there are 4 different sessions. Thursday night session, Friday night session, Saturday noon to 5, and Saturday 6 to 10:30. Each session, if you go by and get a wristband before you get there, it's $25. It can be purchased at Chamber of Commerce, Grand Savings Bank, Groves Royal Liquor. So any one of those, you get one early, then it's $30 at the gate. So lots of good activity with the carnival. So, and then, man, Wolf Creek Park is just amazing. This is a great shot of all the cars that were there. Kind of hard to see, but the carnival's going on kind of right in here. And the most exciting thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but somewhere in here is where they're starting to build the new event center, correct? So that's going to be amazing. 1 year from now, we'll have that hopefully, and be neat to have that for all our events. I'll bet Shrimp Fest may go back to Lobster Fest maybe. And so anyway, but so lots of stuff going on. So I'm going to kind of hit a little bit more on the boat racing part of it, since that's kind of what we do. And I'm going to show a quick little video that just has some highlights. This is, I believe, our first or second year we raced here in Grove. So it takes just a second for this to load up, and it'll go. But it kind of shows shots of the crowd, the boats, and a little description of what's going on. I think it'll play. It just takes a second. It's coming. Yeah, yeah. There we go. All right.
What if I told you that one color changes everything out here? Welcome to the MBRA, your premier destination for all things racing of stock and modified outboard, hydroplanes, and runabouts. We offer a well-structured, highly competitive, family-friendly atmosphere for drivers and fans of all ages. With these boats reaching upwards of 90 miles per hour, race clubs all across the United States, and an always expanding race schedule, come enjoy yourself with us is growing every day. If this looks like your kind of fun, but you don't know how to get started, don't worry. We frequently offer classes about racing at our events, and those who complete ground school may get an opportunity to catch a ride on one of these amazing boats.
So you kind of get a little gist of what goes on there. And if you heard, there's a little bit of noise that goes on. So I apologize in advance to anybody that lives close there, and you get to hear three days ago. But they mentioned people from all over. We do have confirmed. We have people from Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, I believe, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, up Chicago area. So we've got a pretty good crowd of people that are coming here. So that'll be great for them to come and see Grand Lake. So what are the types of boats that we race? So we have two different kinds of boats. We have the hydroplane, which kind of floats on air more, and it's a little bit faster than the runabout, which is the other one. And they'll run speeds of 60 to 95 miles an hour. And cubic inch of the motor's 15 to 49. And you can kind of see how they kind of the pickle fork design, kind of like the cat boat and the pleasure boat. And then we have the runabout, which is more like the V-bottom. It doesn't quite go as fast, but it is harder to drive. And you'll see how you kind of have to use more body English to turn. Now, here's one of the crisis moments in racing. If you're the guy on the inside, right here, you are hoping that that guy gives you a lane. And he's supposed to, but not always does he do it. Which then makes things interesting when the two guys come into the pits, because sometimes there can be some little excitement. So, it's in the WWF. We try to keep it professional. But anyway, we have two different sanctioning bodies of racing. We have the National Boat Racing Association, who is sponsoring our race here in Grove. And then we have, and that's kind of more the mid area I just described. And then we have the American Powerboat Association that is kind of everywhere else. And they've got Washington, California, Maine, Florida, and different kinds of boats. I'll get into that a little bit later. We have to have insurance. So we have to have liability insurance, which is like K&K. The city makes us do that. And so we have to have liability insurance. So what's unique about our kind of racing? You know, we have drag boats that come here, and they're just two boats that, you know, run a straight line. And we run an oval course, and we can have as many as 12 boats. You can see them getting all lined up for the start right there. And now they're heading into the first turn and starting to get pretty conglomerated. And there'll be sometimes we don't have as good a turnout in a class, and there's 4 or 5 boats. But 12 is the most we can race. If we have more than 12, then we have to have qualifying heats to get to a final 12. It's just 12 is plenty out there. You get more than that, it's pretty dangerous. So again, you can see we get pretty close. And here's a guy's, what do they call it? The head cam deal. GoPro, yes, thank you. The GoPro. Here's a guy's GoPro, and he's kind of getting sandwiched in between a couple of boats there. So anyway, in our racing, we run an oval course that's about 3/4 of a mile around. And we race 3 laps in a race. The entire key to our racing is the start. So we have a digital clock right here. You see the 3 digits right there. And I'll go to this next slide, trying to do a little depiction. If this is the land right here, and this is the clock, we have 2 buoys, and that's our start-finish line. So we go around 3 buoys here, you go around 3 buoys here, and that makes the race. But to go to the start, we have to come around here and go between these 2 buoys and hit the clock at full speed right at 0. If you're early, you're disqualified. If you're late, everybody else gets a head start. Now this sounds easy, But when you got 10 or 12 other boats in your way, it gets hard because you're trying not to run into somebody, and then you're trying to look at the clock, and then somebody goes up early, and you can't see because of the spray, and then they go up early, and there's no lanes in the lake, so then they kind of squeeze together accidentally or on purpose, and then you have no place to go. So it's a cat and mouse deal to start. So anyway, once we get going, so here, I'm trying to depict them getting ready to go into this spot right here. And then they're all lined up and going down for the start. And then, again, there's the starting line right there. And then there's somebody at the clock with an iPad. It happens to be me, but I don't normally do that, but once in a while. So we have an iPad that shows a little light bulb comes on and it goes to 0. So you got an iPad and you see the boats going there, and then we go back and review it, and you can go frame by frame and see if they got over the line. And what's crazy is that if you don't use the iPad, you'll be up there trying to judge it, and you'll think somebody was early. But when you go back on the iPad, it saves the driver more than the human eye. So it's pretty interesting. But that's new technology. Back in the days, we used to have a Polaroid picture. They just went off at 0. And it was terrible. And then sometimes we didn't even have that. And you didn't think you jumped the gun, and somebody said you did. But now it's pretty good for being judged. And then we have this team of judges up there reviewing the iPad, looking at everything. So we have to have volunteers doing all these things for the race. So I'm going to do a quick little view here. This is the start of the race here at Grove. So you see the light bulb, and you're going to see about 4 boats that go over the line too soon.
11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Saw the light bulb go off. So there's about 4 boats that went over the line right there. Now, once we cross the line, then it's just a sprint down to the first turn. And kind of like motorcycle racing, when they're sitting there and they take off, the person that gets kind of through that little first corner first has a big advantage. In our racing, it's a huge advantage because the rooster tail makes it hard to pass somebody. So, boy, the whole goal of racing, even though we go 3 laps at 3/4 of a mile, I'll bet 75% of the time, the person that comes out of the first turn wins the race. So it's really a sprint down to there. So we run the race, and we actually race 2 heats. So we race, and then we come back in, refuel, make any adjustments, and go out and do it again. And then we take our 2 heats points as to who the overall winner is. So if you look at this, if you get a first and a third, you're 625. And 2 seconds is 600. So in our racing, first and a third beats 2 seconds. So it's kind of like cards and full house or flush, whatever, you know. So, but, and then if we tie, their timings. So let's say 2 people get a first and a second. Then it goes on their overall time as to who's the overall winner. So anyway, that's kind of how our racing goes. Now, here's an example of this right here. So I've got a video.
Start out with going around the big 20 hydro final, first heat.
This is in Moses Lake, Washington, where we went last year for our nationals. Did the race a few years back. That's where I went. You see them get gathered up.
They have jumped the gun and are disqualified. So this is the final of full field. Look at them all coming around like a bunch of parade horses. They're all coming around. Making a perfect little arc. It's like they practice that.
I had to have something to draw you guys out to see the races there. I heard a guy at our last race. This is the craziest thing. I've never heard this. Been going to races since 1970. And the announcer said before the race, he goes, you know, sometimes we have an accident. And he goes, I sure don't want to wish an accident on anybody, but boy, I sure don't want to miss it. Oh, that was kind of crude. But anyway, we do have some accidents sometimes, and as you can see, the boats get a little out of hand once in a while. I got a few little glimpses of these boats up in the air and flying out. And so anyway, this is Braxton right here, and he got caught a little air there. And there's another guy. This is 4 or 5 years ago, in the same place, 2 different days. Braxton and another guy went over backwards. The guy got a good picture of it. Sometimes it tears the boat up. Most of the time, the boat doesn't get hurt, but sometimes it does. Now, this segues into safety is utmost importance. And we have the best safety personnel at Grove than anywhere in the United States we go. And my dad's really the guy that made this happen. But we get the Grove Fire Department, the Grove Ambulance, Monkey Island Fire Department are all out there, all during our testing and racing. And then we also have 2 guys on a waiver. So if somebody goes down, somebody turns over, we got people fast to get to them. And everywhere we go, you know, we just don't see what we've got here in Grove. It's truly amazing. And so they've been troopers to get to sit out in the hot sun all day, you know, the Monkey Island Fire Department, our fire department people, so they're out in the boat. So it's not an easy deal, but we're thankful we have that. So I'll hit just a little history of our race team. My grandfather started racing in 1953. So he was an electrician in Bonita, Oklahoma. So that was the trailer right there. That trailer's just got 1 boat on it, but it holds 3 boats. And one of his first boat had Bugs Bunny on it. Now, I know I've told you this story before. It's kind of hard to see, but it's got painted on what's that about. Now, this is before he knew his son and his grandson would be dentists. So that's kind of why we've tried to carry that on. And but anyway, that was in the 1950s. And then my dad came back and bought a boat about 69 to start back racing. And here he is looking fit and trim in 1969 there. And he would tell his preacher, we race on our knees. We sit on our knees. We're not strapped in. We're not sitting down. We're on our knees so we can move around. Because our body English is really the trim of the boat. So we got to lean out, move back and forward. So he would always tell his pastor that he was on his knees every Sunday. So we're racing. And then here we come to the 70s, and here's an aspiring young pit crew guy waiting for his turn to race, in me. And this was in the Grove Sun. My dad taught this wheelie in McAllister in the 70s, and we used it a lot in the Grove Sun to advertise the races. And then he also had a guy run into him. This is 1983, and a guy ran over the top of his boat there. And but collision can't stop Dennis, so we were still racing. And then we moved to the 90s, and we started kind of getting a little more dental marketing, I guess, of the boats. We got Jaws with the braces on it. And then the What's Up Doc. And then here's 2010s, Braxton and I racing. And then this was just about a month ago, us racing in Georgia. So anyway, now, it all looks like fun and glamour. And I'm glad Jamie walked in, because he got to experience this stuff. So those boats right there, there's 3 inside and 3 on top and 4 inside. They do not jump out of that trailer by themselves. So it is work. You get there, we got to put together little dollies, and you get untie all the boats, get all the boats off, put all the motors on, hook all the throttles and everything up, and it's work, right, Jamie? So he's been to a few races with us, but you have to love what you do to endure all the effort. So back again, this is my grandfather in 1953, Bonita, Oklahoma, and that was his first year. And then 1954 is my dad's first year, so this was in the Oklahoma City paper. Right here, that's him. That's also him. He crashed right there. And then here's me in my first year, 1978. That was El Dorado, Kansas. And then here's Braxton when he was 10 years old, 2008, Whitney Point, New York, one of his first races. And now we're looking for the 5th generation. So I've got my grandson up there, which I'm not sure Jamie and I share this grandson, if he's giving full approval got them on the go-kart. We're trying to get them tuned up, and maybe we'll get a fifth-generation racer. We'll see. But anyway, this last year we had one of our biggest years ever. So this was the Nationals in Moses Lake, Washington. That's kind of where that video was shot. So this is one of the most competitive classes. This is my nephew Braxton racing. And the guy he's racing right here on the inside, this guy is arguably the best racer that's going right now. He runs like Miss Budweiser kind of boats and about every kind of boat from our boat to Miss Budweiser. And just been a dominant racer. And he's been dominant in this class. And so we've been working hard to try to beat him. So this is going into the second turn. This is a pretty good series of pictures the guy got. But Braxton's a little ahead of him. And now you see he gets out of the water, he hits a bump. And you know we have a turn fin right there. And that turn fin's got to stay in the water and you slide out. And so he hits that, and he starts sliding. And look at him go right behind him there. And when it happened, I was standing there watching it. And from the bank, it looked like that Braxton cut him off. And I thought, oh man, we're getting ready to have the WWF, as I described earlier, when they get in. But this guy's a great racer, never makes excuses if he loses. And he came in, he said, great job, Braxton. He goes, I lost my fin. He goes, I messed up. So it was pretty cool, but they had a great race, and Braxton went on to win. So that was a fun race. But we ended up, both Braxton and I got inducted into the Hall of Champions last year. So amazing today. And this is a yearly deal. It's not like a Hall of Fame that you get in once and that's it. So every year there's a point system that is an objective of how they take the top kind of 1 to 3 racers in each category, and there's about 8 different categories that get inducted into the Hall of Champions. So, but it's super hard, very competitive, and so here we are. Our meeting travels around every year. It's in January, and it was in Reno, Nevada. So you can see we've got our fancy jackets on right here. We got our crew that went with us there. So Howard has his shop right across from our shop and helps us a bunch. Of course, my dad's right here. Tony is a guy that lives in Russellville, Arkansas, and he used to race and loves to help us. And then John Ruff, he's our announcer here at Grove. And he drives the motorhome and cooks. Doesn't lift the screwdriver, but you need all those people filling the roles. But here's the Hall of Champions there, each of us there. And again, it was my 7th time to get in, and Braxton's 4th time. But for us to both get in at the same time is super hard, so it's really a cool deal. And so we get there, and they have a big banquet of like 300 or 400 people, so you get to go up and kind of give your Oscar thank you speech, and they show your video before, so it's a neat deal. So, but anyway, that's a little bit about the What's Up Doc team. So the economic benefits to Grove and Grand Lake of Toes in the Grand and Thunder on Wolf Creek. You know, we have lots of people that come. You saw the video, and we talked about all the people visiting, but it really does bring visitors in, brings the race teams in, brings out-of-towners in. I know Brent was in Joplin or Pittsburgh this morning doing a radio or a TV interview talking about us and trying to draw those people in from the 4-state area. And it's a neat deal. So we've been in different magazines of the area in the Grove paper, Chronicle and stuff. But anyway, we really try to promote to get people to come spend money and grow. And it really benefits there. And the bass tournaments are great, and they help our economy immensely. But it's kind of nice to have a little one-off and do something, like the races. And they have the drag boat races, I think, in July as well. So it's our Facebook page for Thunder on Wolf Creek. And again, the schedule of events, basically we have testing on Friday. So everybody gets there, and a lot of people cannot test their boats where they live. So they have to come and go the day before, and they're trying props, tuning carburetors and all that stuff. And then we have a little more testing Saturday morning, and then we race Saturday noon to 5 and Sunday noon to 5. And we do keep quiet until noon on Sunday because we got area churches there. So we then race noon to 5. So, and then of course all the Toes and the Grand stuff going all around it. So now is an excellent time to talk about sponsorship opportunities. No, seriously, you know what happens? We have gotten different sponsors from the casinos, the city, but it's been kind of hard to get things lately. So we've had more kind of private donations. We do sell banners. You see these banners right up here. And if anybody wants to put a banner up their business, we just charge $100 plus you pay the cost of the banner. And then we'll keep track of the banner. And then each year we'll put it up and just pay the $100. And that money goes for our expenses that we have for the race and our tow money. And truly, the more tow money we have, the more racers we get in. And just gas costs a lot and motels and all that. So it truly helps us to be able to, the more we can have for tow money, the more we'll get racers to come in and put a better show on. So anyway, contact my daughter Chelsea or myself if you have a burning desire to come hang your banner. So anyway, again, please come out and support Toes in the Grand and the races. Lots of stuff for everyone in the family. And I know my grandkids will want action in the carnival there. And what a beautiful sight. Thank you to the city and everybody involved that we get this beautiful facility. Anyway, question and answer. Yeah.
Ben, hold on.
People go past the light bulb at a time. Do they know that? And
No, you don't.
so they just keep
Yeah.
racing, not
And you get
knowing?
0 points. You know, if you jump, we call it jump the gun. Jump the gun, 0 points, but you don't know that race. And a lot of times you think they did, and they won't. And so they'll be kind of in your way of beating somebody, and you usually just have to assume that they didn't jump, and hope they did get called and come in. That's a great question.
Yeah, I didn't know if they had like that earpiece.
No, we wish we would, and we're a little behind on the technology in this field, but that would be the best thing. But it kind of makes it fun, though, that you have to wonder. Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing about Rick. He's the top winner double of anybody who races any kind of boat all across the world. He is started here at 14. The measure is a national championship event. That's the one that everybody wants to win. And so that is the measure by which you're measured. And he's won twice as many as anybody in the world.
Man, he took that pay sponsorship deal serious. You know, you cannot do it without a bunch of help. Motors, boats, props, lifters, the dad that gets you started and tells you how to race and don't jump the gun, and thank you.
So to tag along what Ken said with them jumping the gun, no one knows. I'm assuming if you were accidentally wrecked or otherwise now you're out of the race because of him, just bad luck.
You know, if you wreck, if you're okay, they usually keep racing. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. It's just hard luck racing. That's right. Yeah.
How are your knees?
You know, I've been fortunate. I know. It's a lot of time on the knees there, and we've got a little bit of padding in the boat, and I've been fortunate.
Hey, Rick, sounds like you really sink your teeth into this.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, are any women or girls racers?
Oh, yes. And I tell you what, we have fierce racers. And I tell you we've had about 4 kind of drop out. And you know what happens is, in their late teenage years, in early 20s, they get real serious. And then all of a sudden they get married and have a baby, and then their racing priorities change. But about 5 to 8 years ago, we had every local race, we had 12 boats in the 2 classes I ran. And 5 of the 12 were girls. And they were fierce competitors, and all of them's dad raced. So they grew up around it the whole time. All their dads were my buddies. Now, they could cut me off, no problem. But if I cut them off, Dad's waiting there on the bank for me. So I had to kind of race them differently. Boy, they'd laugh if they sprayed water in my face. But fierce racers, they are excellent.
Hey, Rick, for the race at Wolf Creek, if we want to come out and watch, where do the spectators sit, stand, or yell?
Yeah, and thank you. I did not say anything. I talked about the cost of the carnival. The racing is, there's no charge. So you can come up, you can mill around where all the trailers are, talk to the racers. The best place to watch, though, is just underneath those trees. Unfortunately, there's 3 less, I think, right now, but along the shoreline right there. And that's the best place to watch. They hold the boats out so far because of the waves, you can't hardly see anything in a boat. So you really do need to come by land and just walk right up there. You can bring a lawn chair. We have a few bleachers we bring out from the city, but just go there and you can see it. But again, the racers are great to visit, and you can talk to them and look at their boats and everything, and by land. Oh yeah, so yeah, we'll have some What's Up Doc shirts and cups and all that there. Yeah, merch. There you go.
Rick, I'm told that in this particular sport, size matters.
Yeah.
That, and I mean by that weight of the person. Now, I remember when Braxton was small.
Yeah.
He is no longer small.
No, he's not.
Is he at a disadvantage?
He is in a couple classes, and so there's some classes he's okay, but he's got a couple now that he's getting to be 30, almost 40 pounds overweight, which makes a disadvantage. And I've had some classes that I've had to put as much as 55 pounds of weight in. So we have, leg weights we make, or our main thing we do is we take a bicycle inner tube, and we fill it, like you tie up one end, and you put like buckshot in it. So it looks like a black snake. And you can position it where you want the boat. And if you have to add a lot of weight, where you position it makes a big difference. And but honestly, that has been a big advantage for me because I've never been overweight in a class. And most of the time I have to add a little bit. And that has helped me all along the way of not being overweight. Yeah.
Along the same lines, how much does the boat weigh without the boat?
So the boat weighs, our lightest one is 105 pounds, and the heaviest is 150. So on average, about 125, 130. The motor weighs, our lightest motor is 65 pounds. The heaviest is probably 150. So like I have one class that I race, so the weight is boat, motor, and driver. So you get done racing, and like the winner has to wheel up, put their boat on the scale, and I got to get up in it there, assuming I would win. And then oh man, hold on just a second here. He's playing Boomer Sooner. All right, so I have one class that's 360 pounds. So that's pretty light, boat, motor, and driver. And then like one of Braxton's he races is like 520, but it's a bigger motor, faster than all that. And I have, the weight deal is a big thing. I've lost the nationals by 1 pound. And I just kind of miscalculated, and I had to add some weight. And I go out there and win the nationals. We were in Whitney Point, New York, and I got in, and I was 1 pound light. And I was out. Yeah. The average boat right now costs about around $5,000 for a brand new boat. There's a lot of good boats for like half that much. And I tell people, you could get a really nice brand new boat, motor, prop, everything for about what a Wayfarer is. So, and then a lot of people get started, buy good used boats, and then if they really get hooked in, they might get a new boat. But and the boat is important, and my dad and I get in this argument all the time because he's a boat guy and I'm a motor prop guy. And I think you can take an average boat and have a good motor and prop and win. And he's always like, we need a better boat. So we're always back and forth on this topic.
Rick, tell me, really quickly about the engine, 2-stroke, 4-stroke,
Yeah.
supercharged, or turbocharged.
Predominantly all two-stroke. We're just now getting into four-stroke. And it's really not around here. The APBA has a kids class, and they're starting with a four-stroke right now, working on it. It's probably where we're headed, but all of our stuff is two-stroke and predominantly all pretty stock. And we can put the pipe on it to make it loud, and that goes faster, but the internals are, you know, the engine manufacturers have specifications for each motor. So there's 20 different measurements, and it's all plus or minus something. So like when you win the nationals, they tear your motor down. And honestly, that's more nerve-wracking than the race. Because the guy's sitting there with a little micrometer, and he doesn't say anything for a while, and you're sitting there waiting, and then it'll be like, okay, let's go to the next measurement. You're like, whew, man. And so anyway, but they're all two-stroke, and our predominant motor we run is a Japanese motor that they race over there in Japan, and they have boat racing like we have horse racing. And they have parimutuel betting and little stadiums. My dad's been over there a couple times to see them, and it's really neat. But they then send the motors over here, and they're real durable, and we run them in stock form and a modified form, and they've just been really good motors for us.
Let's give Rick a big round of applause. Let's tell Dick thank you for having his phone ring twice. We got to put $10 more in the bucket. And we got to hear Boomer sooner, though. So I just talked to Kathy. We've got some good news. Who's downloaded the Octria app? Like 5 people, 7 people? Everybody get a text message from Kathy? The Strip Fest is open. Okay. Bidding is now open. So get your bids. Russell Mossberg, you give me the first one. Good, good. And you can donate anything you want, anytime. So everybody wants to stand for the 4-way test, and we'll get out of here.
What about the tables and chairs?
And we're gonna pick up all the tables and chairs. And if everybody wants to recite the 4-way test,